a delicious melee of Caribbean people, food and crafts. I've come to Blanchisseuse this morning for one reason, and it isn't to go liming, and it isn't to come for a swim. I've come to beachcomb, because I think the North Coast beaches in Trinidad are a fantastic place to pick up things like this. Look at this beautiful thing! I think it's the most beautiful form. And you can also find lots of driftwood and shells and pebbles, really gorgeous natural things that we can make things with and set the table with. So come beachcombing with me. This is a really beautiful pebble with a white stripe going right down the middle. I once saw this book with this artist, photographs of, basically the artist just took all these pebbles of different sizes and shapes, but they all had a white stripe. And so they had these beautiful shapes formed in the photos with this one line going straight through. It was really, really lovely. So I'm going to keep that one too. Look at this. This is beautiful. It looks a little bit like a cowrie shell, really, really pretty. And it's got a big hole in the back, which means that, I could hang it on something or hook it to something. So I'm going to keep it. Aha. And this doesn't look too bad either. A really sort of pretty kind of stone with stripes, nice color, nice texture. There's something really quite meditative and calming about being at the beach early in the morning and just sort of quiet, collecting things. And it's one thing to be able to collect the things of nature, stones, driftwood. But as we all know, there's a real problem with littering in Trinidad, which is a shame, when you think of how lucky we are to live in such a beautiful place. I think it's just something to think about, have all the pieces of driftwood and the pebbles and shells that I found on the beach, and I put them in a basket, let them get dry. And I've also got a whole bunch of pretty beads, and I thought I would make some kind of dangling something like a mobile with the driftwood. So I got some twine, and I've sort of examined all the pieces of driftwood and decided that this one has by far the nicest shape. It's the right size for me, and it has this kind of interesting thing, so hopefully it'll make a nice shape for hanging, right? So the first thing we have to do is create our sort of loop for hanging, right? So I don't want it to be too long, just sort of that long. And I'm gonna wrap my twine around itself and then sort of tie it like so. Right, and there you have your hanging structure for the mobile. Okay, now the thing about a mobile is you have to figure out what your horizon is, because you sort of want everything to hang equally off, and so you don't end up with something that looks like that. So what have I got? I've got like driftwood, bits of shell, and I've started tying up my pebbles. Of course, because the pebbles are smooth and round, it's not a very, I can't sort of drill right through it. I've decided to sort of do a kind of bandage around the middle of the pebble, and I've tied my string to itself so that I have these kind of pretty sort of dangling things like that. And it's really nice shape and a beautiful color as well. So I'm going to start in the middle. I really like the shape that this forms, So I'm going to tie a knot right there with my long piece. Right, okay, so let me get my first thing. I don't know, what shall I put on this first? Take a look at it. I'm going to put a bead. Right, so I've got these really pretty wooden beads, so I'm just gonna thread that through there. And then I'm going to tie one of my pebbles. So I'm going to use a reef knot, which is left over right and under, and right over left and under. Right? Should keep it quite well. So, pebble. Pretty shell. This is my cowrie shell, which still has a little sand in it. Oops. Push that through there. Again, I'm just going to tie this to itself. I'm going to put maybe sort of 3 or 4 things on one string. Next thing, I think I'm just going to put a piece of driftwood down the bottom. So I'm looking around on here to see if there are any holes that go all the way through. And there's one. So I'm just going to try and see if I can sort of thread through there. Yes, here it is. Okay, so I think I need to put something in the middle here. So I'm just going to get one of my stones that I've sort of tied to itself. And what I did with each of the stones was I left a load of string on either side so I could use it. So let's see. See how we're doing this. I think the key question is, how are you tying the knots? This seems to be a major... Aha! I think I got it. Let's see how this looks. This is a nice big heavy stone. So let's see. That's it. So I quite like having all these sort of frayed bits of cotton sort of hanging off the edge, and bear in mind that we can have other things hanging down, right? So let's go to the next one. If you have kids and you go to the beach, you can get them collecting bits and pieces off the beach. And this is a really fun thing to do with your kids. Or bits of dried leaf, or... Right, next one. So, now, remember the object is to keep the horizon, right? So here we go. Driftwood pebble and shell mobile.